Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum. Be unto you. Peace, certainly, be unto you. And so we'll be talking about healthcare today, why it's important. Healthcare is very, very, very important. Let's talk about why it's important today. The main reason that healthcare is important is it helps us to take care of our bodies, make us concerned about who we are. It makes us investigate situations as it relates to our bodies, as it relates to diet that are affecting us daily. For instance, sugar, what people call sugar, which is diabetes. High blood pressure, which comes from salt. Diabetes comes from sugar, of course. Blood pressure, high blood pressure, which comes from salt, too many salts, right? Our cholesterol level, right? And the doctors would have us to believe, the doctors certainly would have us to believe that these things are a result of, they have us believe that these things are a result of heredity. You'll hear them say more than not, you hear them say that, well, you got high blood pressure because your mom had high blood pressure. You had bad eyesight because your parents had bad eyesight. You got bad knees, your parents had bad knees. So they go on with this. They ask you, anybody in your family have, this is the hustle side of it. Anybody in your family had high blood pressure? Anybody in your family had diabetes? Anybody in your family have a history of mental illness? Right? And we live, excuse me, brothers and sisters, self-fulfilled fallacies when we answer yes to these questions because we know the response is going to be, oh, I see. So they begin to treat something that isn't there. They begin to treat something that isn't there. And we allow ourselves to be duped. We allow ourselves to be duped. No body, no history can designate or regulate an illness happening to you based on family lineage. Lineage doesn't do that. Lineage doesn't do that. Only diet can do that. But lineage doesn't do it. And it's time for us to have some holistic maturity, scientific maturity among ourselves, so that we will know the right way to eat and live, opposed to eating to live, right? Or rather, living to eat. So we can eat to live, that's the right way. But to live to eat is the bad way. So we need to have a proper diet. We need to hydrate to the point that our urine, which is a measurement of our hydration, should be straw color. A very beige type color to show you get enough water. Water has to wash the system. Water has to wash the system. So healthcare, when it is affordable healthcare is based on diet and based on ailment treatment or elementary treatment of an ailment. So we have to discuss, what is this affordable health care? What does it mean to have affordable health care? What is it? What is it? What does it mean? We have to discuss that. And when you get this health care, when you care for your health, where are you going? Where are you going? So we have work to do in that sense. Affordable health care should affect us ethnically, which wherever we are, who we are, our race, our culture, our custom, and our religion. It should have all of those. These things should work. So when we talk about affordable health care, it should be cultural as well, because we have to understand that each body is different. You can't, regulate illness, a sickness as a monolith. Each of them have different avenues. The different avenues as a result of the culture, the ethnicity that you're dealing with, the rate of or the turnover rate of an illness, and the rate of enduring that illness. And it needs to be tested and tried. It needs to be tested and tried. So we want to talk about this and take our time, because it's very important. Very, very important. The less that you can afford to go to the hospitals, the less insurance that you have, they need to be looking at affordable health care. What does that mean according to the cultures, the race, the religion of the individual that you're dealing with? Now, what does the government mean when they say affordable health care? What does the government mean when they say it? What is affordable to what? What is affordable to the salary? What is affordable to the insurance that you have? All of these are talking about what is, affordability. All of these are talking about affordability. What's good for one person may not be good for the other person. And I'm trying to say this in such a way. But what's good for one person may not be good for the other person. What's good for one may not be good for the other. Because our environments, our race, our religion dictates our either trust or distrust of the healthcare administration. I hope you understand what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. And I'm trying to speak in a language where I can continue, because I have to be able to keep this series on. This is a very difficult subject. We're dealing with AI, so they'll push you off. And I need to let you know that your health is serious. So we have to talk about holistic health. We need to read what is the scope for holistic health. What is the scope? What does it mean when he said holistic and herbal health care, herbal treatment? What is the scope? What do we need to be paying attention to? And then we'll go from there. So what we need to do is we need to read and study. We need to read and study. We're going to do that tonight. Definitely that tonight. So, but this is going to be a great subject. It's something that we all need to be talking about. It's something that we all need to be doing. Brothers and sisters, don't wait too late. Don't wait too late. Because in the scriptures, he says, the day you hear my voice, right? Harden not your heart. You get knowledge, seek the knowledge of truth and the knowledge of wisdom. The day you hear my voice, harden not your heart. It's the knowledge and wisdom of truth. What's going to work for us? And we ask the question. You have to ask the question. Or, there's been a history. The Tuskegee experiment would suggest that in the past, Black people were not, and in present, we can see it too. Many of the practitioners say that Blacks don't trust the hospitals. Can't imagine why. I can't imagine why. But most of the analysts said that Black people just don't trust hospitals. They have no trust for the hospitals. Now, we can talk about reasons why. Historically, what has happened. And I'm treading a very, very thin line getting on this because it's the rope of AI and then, it's occupation. But what's said has to be done, and what's done has to be said. And we need to study amongst ourselves and really find out the benefits and understand the benefits of holistic health. It's important. It's very, very important that we understand the benefits of it and that it is FDA approved. It is definitely FDA approved. So the question is, why aren't we using herbal health or holistic practice? Why aren't we using it? That's the question. That's the question. And brothers and sisters, I don't know why. When there's so much information out there, our people are afraid. It's like they'll die if it means making the opposition happy. I mean, I don't get it. I just don't get it. And I'm running this type of truth marathon because I've got to get this stuff out. It's burning like fire in my bones. Hope you can appreciate that. Now, let's talk about holistic health and what it actually is. What it actually is. What is holistic health? We have to study it. We got to ask the question. Got to ask the question because I'm inclined to believe the more that individuals know about it, then the more they'll do. So, we have to ask the question, what is holistic health? And I'm putting that into our talk section, right? So you can ask questions if you want. Type in things in there and communicate with one another. But we do have to ask. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Dalal Muhammad. Peace be unto you, brother. And we're going to talk about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the brother, had jarred my memory. It's always good to see a fellow Muslim come on the screen. All praises be unto Allah God for you, brother. And we asked the question, we're talking about holistic health. What is holistic health? because we need to know, what is holistic health care? Right? We have to know. Ask the question. Right? And we ask the question because we know many of you are afraid to ask the question, right? Many Muslims know what it is, though, because we have eat to live, how to eat to live. And we eat to live and we don't live to eat. So many of us know. And many of us are on 1 meal a day diet. Some are on 1 meal every 2 days because we know it keeps us healthy. We know. And when the body is less stressed, if it has less toxic material to digest, when we're eating electric foods, which are raw vegetation, raw foods, right? That are got all the energy in it. All the energy in it. It's better for the body. The body has less to fight with. See, when food is cooked, you're killing it. It's dead. When it's cooked, it's dead. Now, if you're going to eat meat, meat has to be properly seasoned and properly serviced for the nutrition of the body. But you shouldn't have bread and meat together if you're going to eat meat. There's a reason for that. It dries out the system, dries out the production and the digestion of food, and it's less useful to the body when it's dead. It may taste good. It may taste good, but it being good for you, that's something totally different. So, and then the second question is, what is herbal-centered science and medicine? We have to ask these questions. We have to ask these questions because we want you to know. Lots of time people spew out words and they're meaningless. They're literally meaningless. Spew them out. What is herbal-centered science and medicine? We have to ask that question. There's a book you should check, written by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Muslim mandatory reading. I'll put that down there. On nutrition. Is how to eat to live. How to eat to live. And that's by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He writes that for us. And anybody can get it because it's healthy for all of us. So anybody can get it. Now, in doing this, we want to, we got it noted. That's part of the foundation that we're building on. Now, we want to talk about holistic health and what it is. And then we're going to get to what it means to different cultures. Holistic health, what does it mean to different cultures? So we ask the question, what is holistic health? Now, we're gonna read that according to a Library of Medicine and Science, the FDA had to approve a writing that we did on it. So I'm very happy to say that I can read through research and proper writing, something that I contributed to. And also, if you go on the link that's at the very top, you'll see African-centered medicine and science. African-centered herbal medicine and science. Now, holistic health is a way of caring for a person that considers their physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual needs, right? Holistic health is a way of caring for a person that considers their physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual needs. It's based on the idea that all these aspects affect a person's overall health. And I'm sure you would agree that a person is physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. And all of those parts of the person have needs. These are many facets of the human life. Many facets. We need a regimen. Every human being need a regimen by which they live, eat, and sleep. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. There are many holistic practices, but you can get into these practices, but if you don't have good health, if you're not practicing good health, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you if you're not practicing good health. If you're not practicing good health, even genetically modified medications won't help you, right? Because it is a, how do I put this? A synthetic used to handle natural issues as a result of the body's disagreements with something that may be harmful to the system, or the result of a system upset due to a diet, what you eat, what you drink, right? For instance, the healthy thing to do if you eat a lot of sweets, so flush out. If you just ate a cake or whatever, get some organic milk, almond milk, right? Excuse me, brothers and sisters, get some almond milk, get some spring water, and flush out. And also, it's good to do sit-ups and push-ups before you go to bed. It's good to have a walk routine daily. And these should be things that are repetitive, a regimen, a religious practice, right? What does religious mean? Habit and cohabit, right? That is mental and physical. In other words, it's intentional practice to keep your body in shape, right? Right. So, holistic practices vary. They are acupuncture is one. A treatment can improve overall health and wellness. Aromatherapy, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Ayurvedic medicine, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Chiropractic care, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Massage therapy, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Nutritional counseling, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Massage therapy, a treatment that can improve overall health and wellness. Mindfulness-based therapy, right? A therapy that can help people break away from negative thought patterns, right? Art therapy, a therapy that can help people relieve stress, manage anxiety, elevate mood. Pet therapy, a therapy that can improve physical well-being and increase self-esteem, right? So holistic health has a traditional medicine too. Holistic medicine is meant to complement, right? This is the disclaimer. This is the disclaimer. It has to be read. Holistic health and traditional medicine. Holistic health is meant to complement, not replace traditional medical care. To that, I want to say also that holistic health is the traditional, actual traditional care. But we know how they mean it. And many medical centers now provide holistic health services as part of their comprehensive care offering. So, whereas it's been approved by the FDA, whereas at one time it was not. Okay? So, we have to understand have to understand what we're saying and what we mean when we do holistic health. What our goal is, but not just for the treatment or medicine itself, but also for the mental aspect, psychological aspect of it, right? And the diet is attached to that aspect. So we behave in ways that's going to be beneficial to our body. We eat, we take in food that's going to be beneficial. Raw foods nourish the body. They are working with the body to hydrate the body, they replenish the body, and they're easier to digest because it is electric in the sense that it's raw. Same thing with a lot of people eat salmon, or salmon, as you say, and mackerel. I'm particular to mackerel. And pescatarians eat it. Pescatarian eat it. It's the one flesh they can eat. So, in understanding holistic health, if we take care of ourselves, brothers and sisters, if we take care of ourselves, then ourselves will take care of us. We make the right decisions, we're not going to pay for it in the long run if we make the right decisions. And so I'm very careful to talk to you about this. And if the question is there a war? Is there a war? Right? Going on in the medical industry, in the healthcare industry? And if so, who is it against? That's a good question. Let's see what happened. We asked a question, right? I put it in the Q&A. I'm loading it now. Why do Black people not trust the hospitals? And let's see what, right? So we have to ask the question because all of these are valid. All of these are valid. I want to make sure I put that in there. Why do Black people not trust the hospitals? Why do they not trust the hospitals? There's been a long history to suggest why, right? The long history. According to racist bias in healthcare, racial bias such as feeling that white people are nicer than Black people, right? Whether conscious or not, can lead to prejudicial behavior, right? Racial bias. Racial bias. And on the other hand, right, such as providers taking more time with white patients than Black, right? Such as providers taking more time with white patients than Black patients, and therefore learning more about the white patient's needs and concern. So there's racist bias that goes on in the healthcare industry. They feel that white people are nicer than Blacks, whether it's true or not, whether conscious or unconscious. But the fact that they believe this means that it's easier for them as professionals excuse me, brothers and sisters, to practice prejudicial behavior in healthcare, right? There's a history of mistrust addressing the inherent bias. There's a history of mistrust. A history of mistrust addressing the inherent bias in the U.S. healthcare system, right? And no matter what the issue is, blacks are afraid, literally afraid. Call it what you want. We don't know exactly where it comes from, but we know it's true. That black people, whether said or unsaid, are afraid of the hospitals. They're afraid to get sick. They're just afraid. Afraid that something may happen. Right? Get in the hospital. A lot of the older generation, the parents of children born in the late 60s and early 70s, they don't trust hospitals. And proof of which, after that, many of their children went into the healthcare facility or the healthcare career field, and to be able to master what they didn't understand and take away the fears that a lot of their parents were feeling. Right? The Tuskegee study in 1932, the Public Healthcare Service, working with the Tuskegee Institute, began the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male, a medical study that involved 600 black men, 399 with syphilis, and 201 without the disease. There were many issues with the study, such as conducting the study without the informed consent of the patients. That was one. Okay, the project also went on the project went on much longer than it was originally intended, 39 years long, in fact, and participants had never received proper medical treatment so that the researchers could see the natural progression of the disease again without their consent. The study finally ended in 1972. Okay? The study finally ended in 1972 when the Associated Press article caused a public outcry. The Assistant Secretary of Health for Health and Science and Scientific Affairs convened an advisory panel to review the studies and quickly conclude that the study was ethically unjustified, and it was immediately stopped. 2 years later, a class action lawsuit was filed and a $10 million settlement was reached for the participants and their family. Also, in 1997, former President Bill Clinton issued a public apology to the participants, acknowledging that the action of this experiment was morally wrong. The healthcare industry didn't apologize. The president took on himself to apologize. Now, another thing is this. The practices that black people have in their eating diet came out of a system of slavery and make-do milk system, in the sense that if a hog or a cow was killed, the master kept the best part of the hog and cow, and the slave made use of the feet, made use of the stomach, the guts, and what was left over from the cow or the pig or both. Same thing with chicken. They would take the entire chicken, leave the gizzards. They would leave the neck, and they will leave the feet and the butt, right? So this is how you get the light and dark meats and what they concentrated on, because each of these was cut up in different forms, back of the chicken and all that thrown out. Slave got the worst part of it. Because of the awful and unethical study, there are now protocols and procedures in place to protect the patient's health. In 1974, the National Research Act was signed into law, creating the National Commission of the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. In addition, the researchers are now required to get voluntary, informed consent from all participants, and all clinical trials are now reviewed by the Institutional Review Board, who oversees study, protocol, and ensure they meet ethical standards. Because of racial bias in healthcare. Now, doctors who take an oath to treat all patients equally, right? Doctors take an oath to treat all patients equally, but that's not always the case. It is well documented that members of the Black community experience more illness, worse outcome, premature death compared to their white counterparts. In addition to what we consider typical disparities such as income, housing, and education, inherent racial bias in the healthcare system also contribute to these negative health outcomes. Racial bias, such as feelings that white people are nicer than black people. This is what it's saying is that white people that are in healthcare are believing this. They know it's not true. Subconsciously, they believe it. The white people believe that white people are nicer than black people, whether conscious or not. This idea can lead to prejudicial behavior, such as providers taking more time with white patients to investigate their needs than they will with black patients, and therefore learning more about the white patient need and concern opposed to black people. And this is very important because this caused a great growth in holistic health and holistic medicine. It caused a great growth. And the populations are growing wiser and wider as the days go along. We tend to gravitate toward people that look and act like us. I'm sure you would agree, brothers and sisters. Or have the same life experiences. And right now, there isn't a fair representation of black healthcare. Excuse me. So we have to examine that, and we have to accept that right now there isn't a fair representation of black healthcare personnel. We have to accept that even black people, because of what is marketed in healthcare, don't themselves psychologically, along with white people, have a fair and across the board respect for black people in healthcare or black professionals. Now, and if a black patient has a negative interaction with a medical professional, why would they want to continue trusting that same system? And that's really a good question. That's really a good question. A lot of people still do, but that is a good question. If you've had a bad experience, with clinics and hospitals, why do you continue to go? Why do you feel there's a need to go? That's a good question. Because there are holistic practitioners out here. There are holistic practitioners. And these holistic practitioners are studied in the art of healing you holistically or using herbal science, herbal centered science. So these are great questions. and things that we have to research according to ourselves. Can we be prejudiced against our own people in healthcare? Or is it that we don't trust them because they're working for the opposition? It's a good question. Because everything that we find in a genetically modified medicine, we can find the same thing in herbal treatment. The actual medicines come from herbal treatment. Now, there was a recent episode that came along that a lot of black folks had distrust for, right? But truth prevailed, so they didn't have to worry about becoming a victim of that episode. I'll put it that way. Talking about 2-3 years ago, right? Be 4 or 5 years ago now. And also, the way things are going, and since the ideas and the behavior in healthcare has not totally improved for black people or black patients, many are restudying amongst themselves to find out about holistic health. So we had a lot of changes over the years as to why things are that way. Now, implicit racial ethnic bias among healthcare professionals and its influence on healthcare outcomes is organized in a systemic review, and we're going to talk about that background in the United States. So the background in the United States: people of color face disparities in access to health care, the quality of care received, and health outcome. The attitudes and behavior of healthcare providers have been identified as one of many factors to contribute to the health disparities. Implicit attitudes are thoughts and feelings that often exist outside of the conscious awareness and thus are difficult to consciously acknowledge and control. These attitudes are often automatically activated and can influence human behavior without conscious volition. So in other words, they're so used to the system of racism in healthcare that they're not even aware when they're doing it, because racism and racial bias has a big effect on healthcare. We have to understand that. And as people become less trusting of hospitals, the holistic and herbal-centered health is going to become increasingly popular. Now it is popularly increasing among the people. Excuse me. But it's going to become increasingly popular among the people. The objective: we investigated the extent to which implicit racial ethnic bias exists among healthcare professionals and examine the relationship between healthcare professionals' implicit attitudes about racial and ethnic groups and healthcare outcomes. As search methods were to identify relevant studies, we searched 10 computerized bibliographic databases and used a reference harvesting technique. Our selection criteria, and this is important for you to know because anybody can do research. Anybody can do research, you know. It's nothing big that says others can't do it. The selection criteria: we assess the eligibility of using double independent screening based on the priority inclusion criteria, right? How you rate the rate of inclusion, and what part of the inclusion did you make priority, right? We included studies if they sample existing healthcare providers or those in training to become healthcare providers. So you use the professional and then the novice. Measured and reported results on implicit racial, ethnic bias, and this was written in English, right? So we translated it into other languages, because just like America has a bias, understand the system of racism is a global system. You'll hear me say that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The system of racism is a global system. It's a global phenomenon. It's a global social behavior of the people in power against the oppressed dark people. Now, a poor white won't experience what a poor black will when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to industrialization. So this not only happening in America, but it's happening around the world. The data collection that was used and the analysis, we included 15 studies for review and then subjected them to double independent data extraction. Information extracted included the citation, purpose of study, use of theory, study of design, study site, and location, sampling strategy, response rate, sample size, characteristics, measurement of relevant variables, analysis performed, results and findings. We summarized study Summarized study began certain characteristics and categorize and then synthesize substantive findings. In other words, organize findings, certain characteristics, certain things we were looking for, right? And you put all this together, you organize it that way, for your data collection and analysis. In other words, when you're writing it down, you write down your data collection and your analysis, you're organizing it directly as it comes in as a result, not of the need to justify, but transparent information finding that is undoubtedly true and can't be overlooked. Main results. Almost all studies use cross-section design, convenience sampling, the U.S. participant, and the implicit association test to assess implicit bias. Low to moderate levels of implicit racial ethnic bias were found among healthcare professionals in all but one study. These implicit bias scores are similar to those in the general population. Levels of implicit bias against Blacks, Hispanic, Latinos, dark-skinned people were relatively similar across these groups, although some associations between implicit bias and healthcare outcomes were non-significant. Results also showed that implicit bias was significantly related to patient-provider interaction, treatment decision, treatment adherence, and patient health outcome. Implicit attitudes were more often significantly related to patient-provider interaction, healthcare outcomes than treatment processes. Now, to be fair, and they were talking about these were not affected. It was a matter of provider insurances and things like that. So, in conclusion, most healthcare providers appear to have implicit bias in terms of positive attitudes toward whites, negative attitudes toward people of color. Future studies need to employ more vigorous methods, in my opinion. So we say more vigorous methods to examine the relationship between implicit bias and healthcare outcome, because it could be frustrating for a person to come in and want treatment that don't have the insurance to get the treatment. and something that Medicare won't cover. Something has to be paid out of pocket and things like that. So they have to address these issues because they're working for a hospital, which is also a business. But because that in itself, healthcare and insurance and all that has nothing to do with racist bias directly, although nationally and internationally it does. But as a macro magnifying glass on an individual's experience, it may not have anything to do with it directly, right? So interventions targeting implicit attitudes toward healthcare professionals are needed because implicit bias may contribute to healthcare disparities for people of color. Now, I just want to, first of all, say, because I think it's important to say, that implicit attitudes, thoughts, and feelings that often exist outside of conscious awareness and thus are difficult to consciously acknowledge and control. Negative implicit attitudes about people of color may contribute to racial, ethnic disparities in healthcare and health. Systematically, we review evidence to implicit racist, ethnic bias among healthcare professionals and on the relationship between healthcare professionals and implicit attitude, because it's very important for us to say, and about racial ethnic groups and healthcare outcome. So 15 studies were identified through the searches of bibliographical data and the databases and reference lists of studies that met inclusion criteria. Okay, and remember, this is controlled by the people doing the study. The earlier studies, that's different from what we did. They did the earlier studies, and we found in earlier studies was still low to moderate levels of implicit racial ethnic bias found among healthcare professionals in all but one study. Still in all but one study. These implicit bias scores are similar to those in the general population of our findings. Levels of implicit bias against Black, Hispanic, Latino, dark-skinned people were relatively similar across these groups, although some associations between implicit bias and healthcare outcomes were non-significant. Results still show that the implicit bias was significantly related to patient-provider interaction, treatment decision, treatment adherence, and public health outcome. So we know that there is racial bias. Main thing is that we know. This is the reason Black people don't trust the healthcare system or healthcare providers, is because of the healthcare disparity. The providers' attitudes and behavior are a target area for researchers and practitioners attempting to understand and eradicate the inequitable healthcare. But you'll never stop racism in America. So at this point, Black people need to figure out an alternative than going to systems we know are not going to treat us right. We need to develop alternatives, right? Because there are great advances in holistic health. And don't forget that the link above, you can click on that link and go straight to African-centered herbal science and medicine, so you can get an idea of what healthcare in-house. Although overt discriminatory behavior in the United States may have declined in a recent decade, may have declined, covert discrimination and institutional bias are sustained by subtle, implicit attitudes that may influence provider behavior and treatment choices. As a result, patients of color may be kept waiting longer for assessment or treatment than the white counterparts, or providers may spend more time with white patients than with people of color. And in addition to that, the providers may vary in extent to which they collaborate with patients in systematic, though non-deliberate ways, and considering treatment options based on patient characteristics, on the patient's characteristics. so I understand my writing. Subtle biases may be expressed in several ways, approaching patients with a dominant and condescending tone. Many of the white doctors do that. That decreases the likelihood that patients will feel heard and valued by their provider, failing to provide the interpreter when needed, doing more or less thorough diagnostic work, recommending different treatment options for patients based on the assumption about their treatment or adherence capability. So really not studying, right? Not studying what's wrong with the patient. You haven't researched it long enough in their in your conversation. Now, if I ask you, if I say, does a history of diabetes run in your family? You say yes. I said, does a history of heart disease run in your family? You say yes. Does a history of kidney failure run in your family? I said yes. There's a history of liver. See what I'm doing? There's a history of skin disorders. What I'm doing is I'm generalizing you. I'm not researching. I'm not studying you. I'm generalizing you. And if I generalize you, then I'll use that bias because I'm not asking you directly if you have diabetes, if you have high blood, have you ever experienced it. Now, for that reason, I need to draw tests. But when I draw tests, it should be a normal part of the job procedure to find out what's wrong with a patient by checking their fluids, right? Same way a diagnostic person do a car, right? Same way with the body. You need to run diagnostics. Find out exactly what's going on so you can diagnose exactly what's going on. And if I do that, then I'll learn from the patient, be able to treat the symptoms of what may be happening to keep what's happening at bay and then give them the instructions so that we could take care of that illness altogether. All right. Now, let me say this, and I know we're wrapping up because the time is certainly drawing close. When we approach patients with a dominant and condescending tone, whether you're black or white, it's going to turn people off. It increases the likelihood that the patient will feel heard. It increases the likelihood of them leaving. It increases the likelihood that that their feelings of not being valued by the provider, by us failing to provide interpreters when needed, doing more or less in a different treatment option for the patient based on the assumption about their treatment adherence capabilities and granting special privileges, such as allowing some families to visit patient after hours while limited visitation of other families. So these practices have to stop, in order for the trust to be built. If let's just say with black people dealing with black people, if they don't give them courtesy, black people are oppressed and so disrespected. There's a history of that. There's a history of it. So that would be the same. The responses would be the same. But when we're treating blacks like that, it's attached to also the direct history of slavery, oppression, degradation. If a black person do somebody black like that, it's still attached to a history of oppression, which is attached to slavery and is attached to degradation, right? We want to make everybody feel comfortable, right or wrong. Now, when you come in a holistic practice, you want to feel comfortable. Because the reason you come in there is because you should feel safe there, because it's a culture practice for black, Latino, or whatever the race is that are oppressed. It's a culture practice for them, so you should feel comfortable when you're in there and feel like you're valued and what you have to say is valued. And for somebody to listen to you so that you're getting the proper help. Just because a person has a holistic store don't mean that they have the paperwork of being a holistic practitioner. These are totally different. Just because he has a store doesn't mean he's qualified. You can go and buy stuff at will, but it's better if you get seen by a holistic practitioner and be able to buy what's necessary to help you, or order it from holistic pharmacy. Because those do exist. They do exist. Now, last thing is variation in provider behavior may be driven in part or in full by positive and negative attitudes that a provider hold toward various racial and ethnic groups. in plain, Black people don't trust the hospitals. Black people don't trust the hospitals because the hospital has shown disparity in many ways, scientific experiments, all of that. In many ways, it's just, it's so much history that and negative history that Black people have experienced. So much negative history that Black people have experienced. So we have to make sure that the history is good in holistic practice so that they'll feel comfortable. And Blacks need to feel comfortable. Our brothers and sisters are oppressed. We are oppressed, and we shouldn't oppress one another. We should never oppress one another. It's not going to help us, brothers and sisters. We've got to do the right thing. We've got to do the right thing. And taking care of our bodies is right. If somebody put you in bondage and oppression, you can't expect them to have your best interests at heart. And I say this, if the police is killing you on the streets, and they're killing you in the law offices, they're killing you in the court systems, you get my drift? You get my drift? There's a reason for everything. We have to open our eyes, be intelligent, stop playing with your health. And it's best to go and get something one time and get constant treatments, because I believe to come inside of holistic practice is only $55 to be seen. And they'll see you. That's a one-time payment. They'll see you. Unless they're doing you coming to visit once a week because you are dealing with some serious illness. But other than that, just come through and get checked and to talk about what's going on and handle a few things. It's very inexpensive. It's affordable health care. It's affordable health care. So holistic health is affordable. Holistic health is definitely affordable. Okay? And we have to certainly understand that. It's very, very affordable. So the question is if you're not comfortable in a place, will you be continuing the same habits that has brought you no good results in the past? Now that you know more about holistic health, herbal centered medicine and treatment, perhaps you will go to a holistic treatment facility. If you look at the very top, we have something there. You look at the very, very top, you can look at that as a great example, and it will help you. It will help you. So we want to concentrate on that. We want to certainly concentrate on it because it's the one thing that we have to take charge of. We have to take charge of our health. Holistic practitioner also work with dental health. It works with heart health. It works with liver. It works with kidney. It works with brain health, mood, mental, behavior, psychiatry. It works with all of these. So it works with all of these. And the treatments that's used is herbal centered. So it's all plant. For those that are vegetarian or pescatarian and just don't want anything else, any of the other stuff in their body, they just want the plant, you can do that too. And there are healthy diets. Many of them sell healthy, which is organic ice cream. What is it? The plant-based ice cream. Plant-based everything. Plant-based meat. I say meat. It's not meat, but like for instance, vegan turkey is Verky. They sell that. They sell beef burgers, They say beef instead of beef burgers, beef burgers. And all of these other things they make and sell, that's good for people who want to take charge of their health and want to go in the right direction, holistically, right? And so you can trust what you put in your body, right? But it has to be organic. And everything used and the treatment and medicine, all that's organic. So That's all I want to bring before you today, brothers and sisters. And I hope it was juicy to me in the sense that it's a lot of information. And I hope that you can appreciate it and learn the history as to why you should be paying attention to your health. And I hope I've been as careful as I can be on this particular topic, because we certainly needed to stay up. But again, if you don't see it, it's at the very, very, very top, and it's African-centered herbal science and medicine. And you can certainly click on that. And if you click on it, it will take you directly to the site. You click on it, it'll take you directly to the site. So you can certainly do that. And again, I thank you, and I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. I know I've been away for some time, but I intend to really concentrate this year and be able to put out that information, because it's very, very important for us, and also to be talking about things that are currently going on in our society, brothers and sisters. So I thank you very much. And if I didn't say it to you in the beginning, I say it to you now, Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be unto you, that peace that goes beyond all understandings. And we are most thankful and grateful to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who were obedient to Master Fard Muhammad to be able to get this information. So that once he gets this information, he's giving it to us, and we give it to you as religious and spiritual and obedient soldiers and ministers of Allah. So we thank you, and we ask God to bless you. We ask the mothers and fathers, love each other, love the children. We ask you all to dwell together, become proper examples in front of our children, that will save them from this dying and failing society. We ask the children to obey your parents, love your parents, and we ask for you to put out this information. Put it out so other brothers and sisters can hear the truth, and on every level of their life, ask, what must I do to be saved? Again, assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you.